Can all hear me loud and clear? Great, excellent. So welcome everybody to this event. I'm delighted to welcome everybody to this very special COP30 side event on Somalia's NDC 3.0 investment plan to drive resilience and low carbon growth by 2035. I want to start by thanking very much the Federal Government of Somalia and the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change for hosting this important event. And it really is an important event because 2 years ago at COP28 in Dubai, I was honoured to speak at the launch of Somalia's NDC Implementation Plan based on its second NDC. And last year at Baku in COP29, we were honoured at the ODI Pavilion to host an event about the development of Somalia's third NDC, and we're now here today launching that. So I'm absolutely delighted to see how Somalia's climate ambition and leadership have only increased over the years. In June 2025, Somalia became the very first country on the African continent to submit its third NDC. And at today's event, we're going to hear about how Somalia aims to realise that vision with an implementation plan launched here today in this very pavilion. And this implementation plan sets out a clear and costed pathway for climate mitigation and adaptation. And that's the really important point, a clear and costed pathway for climate mitigation and adaptation. So we will hear more about the details about the NDC implementation plan's vision, its financing strategy and those priority actions. And we're going to discuss how the international community can support Somalia to realise those ambitions. So today's event is in several parts. First, we will have the welcoming remarks, and second, we will have a keynote speech to set the context for Somalia's NDC implementation plan. We'll have a presentation of that plan, its vision for financing, and then we'll finish off with a panel discussion featuring both policy and financing experts. So let's begin. And to start the event, I'm really honoured to invite Mr. Pablo Vieira, Global Director of the NDC Partnership, to give some welcoming remarks.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Thank you very much, and welcome to the NDC Partnership Pavilion. It is a great honor to have this event today with one of our greatest champions, Somalia. So, Minister, we're very happy to have you here. My name is Pablo Vieira. I'm the Global Director of the NDC Partnership. This is the NDC Partnership Pavilion. We're supporting more than 100 countries around the world advance their climate goals, both through the preparation of NDCs and its implementation. And we bring together more than 250 members, countries, institutions, to work together to drive climate action and sustainable development. And it's really great to see how a country like Somalia is taking the steps towards that with concrete plans and with high leadership. So I want to congratulate the Federal Government of Somalia for submitting its NDC in June, and as it was said, it was the first NDC 3.0 in Africa. The new ambitious NDC targets emissions reductions by 2035 and has a strong focus on adaptation measures such as climate resilient agriculture, water management and infrastructure. But today we witness another very important milestone, the launch of the NDC Investment Plan to drive resilience and low carbon growth by 2035, signifying a shift from ambition to action, which is the motto of this COP. We need to shift and advance implementation of the NDCs. The plan, being developed through a programmatic approach, is set to transform climate finance mobilization through strong national ownership and partner alignment. The NDC Partnership is very proud to stand with Somalia as it implements this investment-ready roadmap and honored to have supported this process to date. By prioritizing adaptation, resilience, and inclusive conflict-sensitive intervention, Somalia is now not only addressing the climate crisis, but also laying the ground for sustainable development for all its people. Minister, I want to congratulate your leadership and the leadership of your whole country. Through the NDC partnership, countries access timely expertise and funding, turning their NDCs into actionable policies, programs, and investment-ready projects. The NDC partnership has mobilized significant support for more than 100 countries developing their third round NDC, mobilizing for support and finance from more than 40 partners, and providing dedicated in-country capacities and knowledge to support these efforts. And to support the implementation of NDCs, more than 50 countries have been supported or will be supported to develop NDC investment plans connected to this third round of NDCs, backed by the Climate Investment Planning and Mobilization Framework that was jointly developed with the GCF. Somalia is one of these countries. Somalia joined the NDC partnership in 2017, and we have been proudly mobilizing support for the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change and the Ministry of Finance over these years, including to update Somalia's first NDC, translated into an implementation plan, and more recently, the development of the third NDC together with its investment plan that is being launched today. But this is about collective effort, and that's what the partnership is all about. So I want to recognize the members and partners of the partnership that have been supporting this effort, because this has only been possible because of this collective effort. The second NDC was supported by the NDC partnership through its Climate Action Enhancement Package, and it was implemented by the Global Water Partnership and UNDP and the Horn Africa Sustainable Solutions. Additional support was provided by ODI, FAO, the United Kingdom, Netherlands, and Germany. With the support from UNDP and FAO, Somalia developed its NDC implementation plan for the second NDC, which was launched during COP28 in Dubai. The development of the third NDC was supported by UNDP, the World Bank, and Oxfam, amongst other partners, under the global call for NDC 3.0 and long-term strategies of the NDC partnership. FAO, with resources from PAF, supported the development of the NDC 3.0 investment plan and Somalia's long-term strategy. Additionally, the United Kingdom is supporting the in-country facilitator embedded in the Ministry of Environment and 2 task force on access to climate finance advisors embedded in the Ministry of Finance. These advisors are not only improving institutional coordination, they are also building in-country capacity in planning, implementation, support climate finance mobilization, and tracking progress on climate action for the country. Finally, the partnership received a new request from Somalia on a clean cooking initiative that is critical to advance the implementation of the third NDC, which will be part of our circulation in December of this year. So we invite all partners to stay out in the lookout for this request that will be critical to kickstart the process of implementation. Somalia places the country at the heart of global efforts to unlock climate finance for fragile and conflict-affected states. The launch today marks a new phase, moving from planning to implementation. Somalia's ambition plans need equally ambitious support. We call on all partners present here today, on the international organizations and the private sector, to support Somalia and to invest in the government priorities and invest in the government's ambition. We must now work together to accelerate action. I wish that a year from now, Minister, we can have you here presenting the results already of the implementation of this investment plan. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pablo, and I think really good example of how something like the NDC partnership can achieve real ambition and real support. So without further ado, I'm absolutely delighted to invite the man who's been really driving this whole process forward. I'm delighted to invite His Excellency General Bashir Mohammed Jama, Minister of Environment and Climate Change from Somalia, to give his open remarks and tell us more about this amazing initiative.
Excellency. I think you can hear me. Excellencies, distinguished representatives from the NDC partnership, UK FCDO, SIDA, Denmark, the World Bank, the Green Climate Fund, the African Development Bank, ODI, the UN, non-governmental organization, and all esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to stand before you today as we launch our NDC 3.0 investment plan. In Somalia's climate future, our national climate blueprint, and our most comprehensive strategy for resilience, low carbon growth, and prosperity. In June 2025, at SB 62 in Bonn, Somalia became the first country in Africa to submit to launch its NDC 3.0, signaling a new era of leadership, vision, and ownership of our climate future. Today, at COP30, we unveil the investment plan 2025-2035, a costed roadmap that lay out at US $11.5 billion in priorities to deliver our 34% emissions reduction target by 2023 and build resilience across all sectors of our society. This plan integrates our long-term low-emission development strategy, LT-LEDs, the National Adaptation Plan, the National Transformation Plan, and our forthcoming National Climate Finance Strategy. It brings together mitigation, adaptation, disaster resilience, and inclusive economic development into one unified national agenda. Somalia's NDC 3.0 is not just a document. It is a climate blueprint of nation, a framework built by all federal ministries, all federal member states, local governments, civil society, youth, academia, and the private sector. Our NDC 3.0 adopts a wall of government and wall of society approach, ensuring that our climate solutions are driven by inclusive governance, community ownership, and national unity. At all federal government level, my ministry leads coordination through structured platforms. At the federal member state level, implementation will take place where climate impact are felt most directly on farmers, in coastal communities, in pastoral systems, and in urban centers. Through the NDC, we are elevating the role of all our federal member states to drive climate implementation tailored to their realities. For Somalia, climate action will only succeed when federal and state institutions move together with shared responsibility and shared benefits. Our NDC 3.0 is ambitious and transformative because it focuses on all pillars that matter most to Somalia, such as adoption, which is the backbone of our climate strategy. Somalia is committed to reducing 29.5 million tons carbon dioxide by 2035, while expanding renewable energy, restoring degraded lands, and scaling nature-based solutions that create jobs and stabilize communities. Somalia being one of the most climate vulnerable nations on the earth, our NDC 3.0 elevates loss and damage as national priority. Addressing displacement, destroyed livelihoods, ecosystem degradation, cultural loss, and recruitment are recurrent humanitarian crisis. For the first time, Somalia positions carbon markets as a strategic opportunity. Our aim is to establish high integrity, transparent, nationally regulated carbon credit system that benefit communities, attract private investments, and support climate resilient livelihoods. We emphasize public-private partnerships in clean energy, agriculture, blue economy, digital climate services, and early warning systems. The private sector is not optional, it is central engine for delivering NDC outcomes. A climate resilient Somalia must be built on local knowledge, evidence, and science. Our universities are playing a growing role in climate modeling, ecosystem monitoring, MRV system support, innovation hubs, youth training, and climate entrepreneurship. Excellencies, there is one message I want to emphasize today. It is this: partnership is the only path to implementing Somalia's NDC. Somalia cannot and should not walk this journey alone. The NDC 3.0 investment plan is designed to be delivered hand in hand with development partners, international financial institutions, regional organizations, and private sector and local communities. We are launching this investment plan at a time when Somalia faces both immense challenges and immense opportunities. My message today is therefore clear. Somalia is ready to move from ambition to action. But we cannot deliver implementation without collective partnership. We invite all development partners, private sector, and climate finance institutions to align their support with our NDC 3 priorities and help us convert this roadmap into real projects that transform lives. Let today mark the beginning of a new phase, a phase where financing follow, institutions strengthen, communities lead, and climate resilience becomes the foundation for peace, stability, and sustainable development in Somalia. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my government, I reaffirm our full commitment to transparent, inclusive, and accountable implementation of our NDC 3.0. Obrigado.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you very much for those remarks and for really outlining how the NDC 3.0 really is this new era of leadership and ownership of Somalia's own climate finance. And also the important point of stressing how a climate resilient Somalia absolutely needs to be built on that local knowledge and science, but also about engaging young people in that journey to set up climate entrepreneurship and other interventions. So thank you very much. So now I would like to invite Dr. Khalif who's going to come and give us an overview of the NDC 3.0 investment plan roadmap. Dr. Khalif, many of you know, is a man of tremendous energy and passion, and is going to give us an overview this morning.
Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Rebecca, for your passion to be part of this. For the last 3 presentations and launch we did, Dr. Rebecca was our moderator. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, my minister. Because of the very important panel discussion we will have, I will minimize my presentation to 5 minutes. And we will start. Who is managing these slides? Oh, sorry. Yes, thank you. So, we all know, and this slide is not new to you all, it is the Somalia's current emission, which is 54 million metric ton, and the business as usual scenario by 2035, which is 85 million metric ton, and the global share for Somalia, which is 0.09%. The minister talked about this slide, and that is the costed of our current NDC. We have broken down those plans into sectoral levels, and you can see agriculture and the land use are the biggest contributor of our emission. Therefore, the biggest budget lies to agriculture, energy, and the land use change for mitigation. For our adaptation, it is still agriculture and food systems, infrastructure, where loss and damage comes in, and the water management and public health. For Somalia's NDC Investment Plan roadmap, it is not coming from silos or from unknown area, but it is applied to the global guidelines, which has been developed by UNFCCC, NDC partnership, and the partners. So we will have 3 strategies in this investment planning, which is investment planning capacity to establish a government buy-in and the whole of government approach of society, as the minister said. And then we identify investment needs, which we have done already, and you will see. And then we will have mobilization strategy, and that is why we are here today. So in our plan, it will have 2-phase strategy. Our investment plan is phase 1 is 2025-2030, and the phase 2 is 2030-2035. So for the investment planning roadmap, we have already done together with FAO about the climate finance flows in Somalia, the need and the gaps. And you can see this slide in front of you is a sector by sector. The blue dot is the need, the gray dot is the gap, and the red or pink, whatever it is the current financial flows for Somalia. All these slides, it's already live streamed in NDC partnership, ODI pages, so, and we will share it with you. So in our timeline for implementation, I will only talk now 2025 and 2030, because our NDC is again obliged to be updated by 2030. So we have already identified 5 projects. And today, 5 pipeline projects. And today what we are asking the world is $735 million US. We are not asking you for the 11 billion. We are not asking you for 1 billion. But what we are asking is 735 million for the coming 5 years. And the project in number 1 for that is sustainable and clean energy. And as my minister said, you can see how the ministries are collaborating in Somalia. And this, it is under the docket of the Ministry of Energy and the Water Resources Mobilization. So for that project, you will have a detailed explanation, but we are asking for 210 million US for the coming 5 years. And you can see it is renewable energy, grid rehabilitation, rural mini grid, and capacity building and the monitoring and evaluation system. Project number 2, in the pipeline project number 2 is water security integrated rural water management, because the problem of Somalia is water. So that is why, again, Ministry of Energy and Water and Energy is the main focal point. Remember what my minister said, Ministry of Environment and Climate Change is a coordinating, and we will make sure that monitoring, reporting and verification MRV system to be effectively implemented by the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. So for this project, we are also asking 200 million from 2026 to 2035. And you will have already costed, concept and full project proposals. Project number 3 we are asking is climate smart agriculture and livestock resilience. As I said, the biggest GHG emission in Somalia is methane and carbon dioxide. And the livestock is very big component in our investment plan. And we are asking 100 million for the coming 5 years. Project number 4 is blue economy and the sustainable fisheries. As my minister said, Somalia has the longest coastal line in Africa. So blue economy is the most important aspect in Somalia. And that is why we are asking 100 million for the coming 5 years. My last slide is this, and I think I am promised for the 5 minutes. It is the biggest sector which contributes to Somalia's emission, which is land use and the land use change. Here we are planning for land rehabilitation and afforestation, and we have components of forest and rangeland restoration, we have sustainable land management and ecosystem resilience, and we have integrated land, water, coastal resources. This will be implemented collectively by several ministries led by the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, and we are asking 125 million. That totals 735 million for the first phase. Conditional 95%, unconditional 5%. So the government of Somalia will meet 5% of 735 million. I think I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khalif, for outlining that. And I think, as we see there, we've got 735 million US dollars of costed projects. These are costed projects, these are planned projects. And what's really important, we can see from that they really speak to the current needs and the future of Somalia's socio-economic development. So these are not just one-off ad hoc things. This is about the future of Somalia's socio-economic development, clean energy, water, the focus on methane reduction, and as Dr. Khalif ended with, those projects very important on that land use and land use change. So thank you very much for that, which I think helps us now as we go into our panel discussion. You've really set the scene for us there, which is fantastic. So I'd now like to invite the panelists to come up to the stage. We'll just move the furniture around a little bit, but if you could come up to the stage and then we'll begin. We'll just do a quick comms check with the panelists. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, great, perfect. Okay, so we're now moving into the panel section of our event. So as we heard, Somalia's NDC Investment Plan, estimated at USD 11.5 billion, marks Africa's first comprehensive and costed investment framework. And this really unites, as we just saw, mitigation, adaptation and resilience. So this is really about the nexus of those under one national vision. And today we have a very distinguished panel of speakers who are going to explore for us and talk through how the plan from ambition to action through financing instruments, international readiness and shared commitments can become a reality. We've got quite a large panel here, so I invite everybody to be succinct and snappy with your comments. Also, that's a good way then of those comments making it onto a fantastic LinkedIn post and other things. So it's a good incentive. I'd like to first start with Debbie, if that's okay. So Debbie Palmer, everybody, is the Director of Energy, Climate and Environment for the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office of the UK. So Debbie, the first question to you. Given Somalia's recent success in securing significantly GCF financing, how can international partners such as the UK, climate finance institutions align their support to effectively deliver on Somalia's NDC Investment Plan whilst also prioritising climate finance for fragile and conflict-affected states?
Fantastic. Rebecca, can you hear me? Yes, super. Good morning, everybody. It's really lovely to be here. I feel super inspired by this event, and I massively congratulate you on the progress that you've been making. It's absolutely extraordinary. I remember the last time I was at an event focused on Somalia was at COP28, and you were at the beginning, very beginning of this journey, and to see the progress and the speed has been terrific. So to answer Rebecca's question, I'm going to suggest there are 5 things that I'm going to quickly work through that I think are really important. The first stands to reason is government leadership, and so you're showing it in spades. We've got the Federal Government of Somalia, and particularly the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, advancing climate action in one of the world's most climate vulnerable contexts. I salute you and I thank you. Without that, it's very difficult for all the other pieces of the puzzle to come together. So thank you for showing that leadership. Underneath that, we then need vision and a plan. And again, Somalia has really worked forward. I welcome the launch here today of Somalia's NDC Investment Plan, aiming to mobilise 11.5 billion to meet climate commitments. It's vitally important that all of us now demonstrate our collective ability to back what's been set out, a country-led approach. This is about how do we therefore start to coordinate effectively at country level, providing coherent finance at scale. So we've got the leadership and now got the vision and the plan set out. So thirdly, then what we need is development partners to begin aligning behind that plan, and the work's for us to do. Now, to answer Rebecca's question, the UK has been very focused. You've already heard some of the things that we're doing. The UK has been working as a development partner supporting Somalia to try and drive forward that access to climate finance. You've heard about the embedded advisors we've been providing already. That all comes under the work that's been done to sort of work with Somalia through something called the Task Force on Access to Climate Finance. Somalia is one of the pioneer countries working with that group, and this is all about how can we drive up access to the finance that's available internationally. How can we smooth that path and make it more efficient? And the job is how do we coordinate, how do we streamline, but ultimately how do we accelerate finance flows? The UK has a very strong commitment to working in fragile and conflict-affected states. To give but one example, the wonderful Dr. Abdullahi Khalif, Somalia's NDC country facilitator, we have been supporting Dr. Khalif through the NDC partnership. We're really delighted. I'm super delighted we managed to extend that support as well. And it's one of the examples of just how we're working to try and put the pieces in place to enable Somalia to drive forward the plan and access the finance that's needed. My fourth point is, once you've started getting these things in plan, there is something about government coherence to ensure all of the different ministries across the government are all pulling in the same direction. And I think, again, there has been incredible progress in establishing the National Climate Fund within the Ministry of Finance, which now is providing the governance and the coordination. And then my final point is simply about the climate finance architecture. I think there's something about then ensuring the GCF and the other the MDBs, Stefan, I'm sure you'll speak about the MDBs, but ensuring all of those sources of finance are then really looking at how they can support fragile and conflict-affected states in the most efficient way possible. Of course, Somalia has recently secured its first single country project through the GCF, $95 million, 79 from the GCF. That's really exciting, plus 2 multi-country projects. And this is what we need to see. Somalia is exactly the sort of place where the GCF should be focusing its funding. The UK has been campaigning to ensure the GCF is more and more focused on these very vulnerable countries, LDCs, SIDS, and fragile and conflict-affected states. So you said, sir, Somalia is ready to move from ambition to action. We stand with you in partnership. I really want to see you fly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Debbie, for that. And I think you echo all of our sentiments here today when you said you sort of feel really inspired to be here from what you've heard. And also really good to hear that UK is retaining this strong commitment to supporting fragile and conflict-affected states, and that importance of getting finance to the people, not just to the projects. It's about how does this finance support and enable the people. So thank you very much. I'd now like to turn to our second speaker, to Annika Otterstad, who's the Director of Results Department at the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency. So my question to you, Annika, is Somalia's NDC Investment Plan embeds strong principles around gender, equality, youth empowerment. We heard Minister Jama reference the young people and stressing that it's very much an inclusive plan. So how can CEDA help strengthen institutional mechanisms that make these principles more measurable? Because I think that's the important point. How do you make them more measurable and fundable across national and local climate programs?
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. So I'm Annika Otterstedt. I'm the Assistant Director General of CEDA. And I'm very excited being here, because if there's any partnership that is very visible in Sweden, it is the Somalia-Swedish partnership. I have so many colleagues originating from Somalia, and we meet Somalis everywhere in Sweden, so great. Sweden welcomes Somalia's commitment to integrating gender, youth and conflict sensitivity in its climate strategy. These principles are central to CEDA's work in fragile and climate-affected contexts. Through projects like the Somali Resilience Program, the SOMREP, CEDA promotes climate-resilient livelihoods, vocational training and innovations, directly supporting NDC priorities on climate-smart agriculture and social inclusion. CEDA also supports the consortium building resilience in Somalia, the BRCIS, together with FCDO, to strengthen community-led resilience, empowering women and youth in IDP camps through self-help groups and local governance. This is directly aligned with Somalia's adaptation goals. Sweden has had several projects in Somalia, for example with UNDP and the World Bank, to increase accountability, transparency and capacity of the government, creating an enabling environment for the climate finance strategy. So truly appreciating the steps forward, as we heard by the Minister himself and the FCDO, and look forward to cooperating further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd now like to turn to our third speaker. So I'd like to turn to Stefan Hallegatt, who's the Chief Economist at the World Bank. So Stefan, have you got a mic here? The question for you is, we've heard about obviously the financial envelope of the NDC. We've heard about this is a program of about 735 million in pipeline in terms of the first 5 years of this 10-year 10-year plan. So how can the World Bank support the government of Somalia in translating this roadmap into actual concrete bankable projects? And in addition, is there sort of an opportunity for the bank to consider supporting some of the proposed pipeline projects within its own current climate and development report portfolio?
Thank you so much, Excellency, colleagues, friends. I want to join everyone here to congratulate Somalia for this document and this work. As was said multiple times, but I think it can be repeated. The pace at which it has been done is pretty impressive. And I think when we're looking at the content, we see exactly what we're advocating for, which is not only the focus on mitigation, adaptation, and resilience together, but also the development focus. Like, this is all about getting the country to a better place and not only dealing about climate change. I think this is something that is really, really important. And as we are talking about financing, I think putting on the table the fact that we're not only pushing a defensive agenda against climate change, but that this is just investments in development of the country is also an argument to bring new people around the table and not only the climate people. I think this builds on progress in the country way beyond the climate agenda. Things have been moving really, really fast, and so you have a lot to build upon, including the joining of the East African community, which I think also offers a lot of important opportunities. We have been supporting a lot of the topics that you presented in your NDC already. I mean, on water resilience, on urbanization, on the blue economy and fisheries. We have already programs that are ongoing on all of these topics. And so to us, the question is how do we build on what exists and these plans to go faster and bigger. And the NDC implementation plan is a great opportunity to do this. It will be really, really important in the multiplication of plans that there is a very strong alignment and that the governance structure makes sure there is no time or energy being lost in trying to align things, but that it's very clear that it is all pushing in the same direction, notably with the National Transformation Plan, which is really taking this development angle. On the priorities, I think this is all about turning the vicious circle into a virtuous circle, right? We have seen that the challenges, if you reverse them, they are all like opportunities, and the balance between the rural and the urban is really, really important, and how disaster risk management can really offer a cross-cutting theme on this. What we would like to see is, since you have this plan that is integrated, is also to have the integration on the other side. And so you mentioned the MDBs, having the MDBs working as a system in cases like this with all of the other partners will be really important. Internally, we're doing the country climate and development report at the same time. This will be published really soon. And so this will also help us to make sure we have full alignment between what you have in your document and what internally we have as priorities given to our teams. So we hope to be able to concentrate the resources into things which have the biggest leverage. Two last points, maybe to conclude. One is on the importance of private sector investment and jobs, because with the envelopes that we have, we don't meet all of the needs. And so, of course, the question is how to push the private sector in there, how to give visibility over the long run, clear direction of travel, and how, you know, that the World Bank Group has been pushing the idea that jobs is the right lens to try to look at these issues, trying to find opportunities that could create as many jobs as possible with your demographics. This is really, really critical, way beyond the climate agenda. Last point, over the long run, over the short run, of course, there will be a dependency on donor resources, on the MDB framework and so on. I think it's really important to keep this long-term view on getting away from this dependency and to mobilize domestic resources. This is a long-term objective, but it has to be in everybody's mind from the beginning, and that we're trying to just implement those projects so that you mobilize private sector and you mobilize your own domestic resources with more prioritization and efficient spending. So this is in those perspectives that we will continue to push with our resources, and very happy to have your document to be the foundation of all of our work. So we'll have more conversation, I'm sure, on the practical details and how every project can be made bankable, but we're here to support you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And I think you make some important points there. Good to hear, of course, that the... Pardon? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, it's only you. It's only Dr. Khalif who can't hear me. So yeah, no, thank you for those points. I think, as you say, this NDC actually really does create opportunities to bring in new investors, new people around the table. But also good to hear, of course, that the bank is committed in this area. And I think because, as you say, that strong focus on socio-economic development, it's not just about the climate change. The climate change has to be integrated into that socio-economic development. And I think you hit on an absolutely core point, jobs. This is the question, not just in Somalia, but in any country, jobs. How can any investments in climate change support jobs, support livelihoods? Thank you. So we're now moving on to our next speaker, Alain Beauveillard, who is the Director of Strategy, Policy and Innovation at the Green Climate Fund. So my question to you, Alain, is, so as Somalia is strengthening its climate finance readiness and advances this implementation investment plan, how can the GCF, for example, support this transformation of Somalia's priority projects, again, into these implementable investments through programmatic funding windows, project preparation facilities, or sort of de-risking instruments? And yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, as you know, the GCF is as of today the largest multilateral climate funds. We have a total portfolio of 19 billion, and we are covering both mitigation and adaptation, 50%, 50%. And as Debbie mentioned, we have been designed to go in this kind of region like Somalia. We have been designed from the beginning to focus at least half of our adaptation effort on the most vulnerable, so the seeds, the LDCs, African countries. We have been designed basically to go where nobody else is going. As of today, we're doing about 40% of the portfolio in Africa, almost 3 billion in fragile and conflict-affected states. Just give you a favor. Two figures I want to just mention is we are doing 12% equity in our portfolio. A third of that is going to LDC, to least developed countries. Just showing you how risk appetite we have to support the country which basically needs this kind of amount. The second figure is the private sector, because this will be a big discussion here, as you mentioned, Minister. In our portfolio, we're covering 30% private sector, and we're very much actually happy to deploy all the instruments that we can, equity, de-risking instrument, to support basically and attract the private sector in your country. Coming to Somalia, I actually fully agree with other panelists. Actually, it's very inspiring event today, because what you deliver over the last 2 years and now the commitment that you're taking is really amazing. The first country with the NDC 3.0. And the 11 billion pipeline that you have in mind, investment pipeline, and the 5 projects that you mentioned, this is exactly where the GCF can support you. As you know, Mafalda Duarte, our executive director, went to Somalia. It was one of the first missions that she did when she took offices. And she was very actually appealed by all the challenges that are on the ground. Could be on water, on energy, on the humanitarian crisis, and she strongly believes that the GCF can help the country there. Good example, it was mentioned by Debbie as well, is the first single project that we supported in the country with actually the FAO on the agriculture resilience system, where the GCF brought 80 million grants to support this 95 million projects to help resilient agriculture, and we want to do more of that. Now, if we look at what you propose in terms of like the next project, I mean the 5 projects you were proposing, we believe we can help you in like many ways. First, capacity building. We didn't mention that sufficiently, but capacity building will be basically the basis if you want to develop capacity locally, if you want to develop your pipeline, and have basically bankable project to help also the private sector. Second thing is also, of course, the co-financing facility. And here we can deploy all kind of instruments. Grant, of course, concessional loans, equity, guarantee, resilience-based payment. Here we can support. Private sector investment, here again, very happy to bring like private equity or to support like private sector investor and to de-risk them. Last point I want to mention is local players. I met the Somalian Development Bank in Washington, D.C. a few months ago, and they are very keen in engaging with GCF becoming an accredited entity. This is the way forward. And to support this effort, we believe like country platform could be also a good instrument for you. As you know, we'll be launching 70 country platforms on Saturday and a big event with Brazil. We believe there is a space here for Somalia because this is a great instrument to bring all the key players together, local players, international players, and to provide domestic resources. Thank you very much. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you very much, Alain. And I think, again, some important points there in terms of the risk appetite is changing. This is something that we've talked a lot about with the climate funds, also with the private sector, the need to change and rethink about that risk appetite that previously has been constraining finance going into countries such as Somalia, and the need to sort of reform those processes so that the context can be taken into account, but the money can still flow. And interesting to hear about the country platform as well. So I'd now like to turn to my next speaker, to Divina Milenge, who's the Chief Program Officer of Special Initiatives for the African Development Bank. Divina, welcome. My question for you is, how can the African Development Bank help integrate Somalia's priority sectors that have been identified, presented in the investment plan, like the African Adaptation Acceleration Programme, for example, that really helps to expand public-private climate finance. And I think this builds on the last couple of points that we've heard. So it'd be good to hear your perspective on this from the AFDB.
Right, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. And like everybody else, really appreciate Somalia for the job well done. Being an African and an African woman, the most impacted because of climate change. On the African Development Bank, listen, you've been on this journey with us. You're one of our first shareholders since 1964. And we have a very long history, including our last country platform, strategy paper that ended in 2024. Clearly, all the issues listed here, whether it's financial inclusion, agriculture, energy, were all there in that strategy. We are in the next phase, 2025, 2029, which now aligns with this NDC. I was scanning through. It includes climate resilient infrastructure, it includes energy, it includes agriculture and land use, everything that was listed under the NDC. But one lesson learned from the previous one, in the previous one, we had a portfolio under the infrastructure portfolio that was about $240-something million. Covered energy, covered a whole lot of transport issues. The one lesson was on implementation, which is also highlighted, that we really need to build capacity on implementation if you're going to drive the GCF project and all the others that we are working on. You're a beneficiary of the Climate Action Window, which is our African Development Fund for low-income countries. We have a project that is coming on stream with the World Food Program that includes agriculture, financial inclusion. It's a $9 million project. So some of these, they really drive from the community upwards. I like the element of jobs. I like the element of private sector and local ownership, very, very critical. So with that, we have what we call the Africa Financial Alliance on Climate Change to get the financial sector in. And indeed, the Somalia Reconstruction and Development Bank is a beneficiary of that. So the bank had a program under that 2022-2024 program that was to support financial sector. It supported the central bank, the Bank for Reconstruction and Development. We've aligned climate mainstreaming on that deal. And so what we do with that is to ensure that when they do portfolio analysis, they also identify climate projects, but also climate mainstream the portfolio. So that is a new support that we're extending to the bank. Clearly, what we have as a bank are platforms for engagement, whether from the Africa NDC Hub, where we interact with the team here, the NDC partnership, and the other agencies. We have 21 member institutions that are part of the Africa NDC Hub that we support countries, especially if we can do it right with the low-income countries, then we're on the right track. And clearly, I think what we are focusing on, and every other time you see that NDCs are getting better, this is a blueprint of how it's done better. I have 1 minute to say, so just to conclude, we are there with you. We have the instruments to use. We do tailored interventions, and happy to engage. Thank you very much. One last one, the Mission 300 for energy. Somalia has been invited to join the third cohort of countries. And so I sent it to the coordinator, and she said, we are waiting for them to make an application. So it's in you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Davina. And yeah, good to know about those platforms of engagement that are there. And as you said, again, this focus on jobs is just so critical. So I'm now going to turn to my last speaker, Martial Bonneau, who promised that no matter how badly I mispronounced his name, he would still know who I was referring to. So Marcel is the Senior Natural Resources Officer at the Office of Climate Change, Biodiversity and Environment for Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, the FAO. So my question to you is, so in Somalia's NDC Investment Plan, we saw a strong focus on climate smart agriculture and also blue economy. So how can the FAO help deliver these large-scale community-level programs that generate measurable adaptation and mitigation outcomes? And how might the FAO be able to engage further in Somalia in light of the new NDC?
Okay, thank you. I guess you can hear me well. So let me first start thanking the Federal Government of Somalia for the trust put into FAO to engage with us on having really that constant support. And you know this is done possible because here I'm FAO headquarters, but we have FAO Somalia on with Mr. Peter Schmidt that on his team that is really on contact, in daily contact with all of your team, and this is how we manage really to work on the ground. And you were mentioning the beginning partnership, and it will respond to your question. Somalia is also part of the FAST, so the Food and Agriculture for Sustainable Transformation Partnership that has been launched at COP27, and that partnership is really aiming to how we increase the access to finance for countries, developing countries with a focus on LDCs and Cs. And we are not just targeting on the quantity of finance, but on the quality of finance. And the quality of finance means as different aspects. It can be grant versus loan. It can be, for us, the direct beneficiary. Who will really beneficiate from that? So you mentioned climate smart agriculture, but we are supporting in a lot of different technical areas, from aquaculture, livestock, pastoralism, cropland. So we are really trying to understand. On our focus, we are a technical agency. Most people here are from the donor side, and we are the middle person trying to look at where the finance is, what has a need expressed at the country level. We help also to size that. So when we were working to develop the NDC 3.0, contributing the investment plan, basically here it was really to help to have sound number, to have real number and to size the direct benefits that would be in terms of adaptation, resilience, and co-benefits for mitigation as well. On how we work, basically, we do not never consider one project in isolation to another project. It's a tissue of different projects that should complement each other. And for that, for the future, we will really build on what we already have. So you mentioned the GCF project. So for us, we were really prone to that. And it was even signed, if I remind well, in a record of time. The day after approved, it was signed. So it was really showing the example that when we are all together with the willingness, we can manage to do things. And So this is a GCF project, but just to give you a number, you said the number 95 million, mostly grant, mostly from you, but the most important for us is targeting direct and indirect beneficiary, more than 2 million of people. We have another project, the Jawar Upstream Storage Program, that in total is more than 100 million, and supported by different donors, including UK here. But this project is also targeting directly 1.6 million people, and those people are not as the ones that are really the most suffering. So it's targeting on communities that are really impacted by climate change, and mostly gender, girls, women, girls, and young people. So this is really what we have to do, to look at how we connect the finance with the needs, and looking at the quality angle of those flow of money. And this is what we are committed to do. And just to end that, there is a new fund on loss and damage, and we're looking carefully, and we're already in contact with the Federal Government of Somalia to see if we can apply to that first round, that we will have a time that is really short, but we can build on what is already existing to have a really meaningful project that can be ready for the next board of the FRLD that will be in April so. Sorry for being long, thank you.
You were perfectly on time, that's fantastic. And thank you, for raising that point around the quality of finance. And then sort of to build on that, actually, maybe Annika, if you just want to...
Yes, please. I was very short because I had a second question. I just wanted to mention that Sweden is very strongly supporting the youth climate group, which is supposed to be active across Africa with a strong focus on Somalia as well, and including ensuring that young people can take part in not only the decisions but also in the activities. And I also wanted to mention that SIDA and Sweden is one of the largest per capita funders of the Global Climate Facility, and that we finance governance and resilience building projects in Somalia, including inclusive economic development, health system strengthening, and climate smart agriculture and pastoralism through projects like the SOMREP and the BRCIS, which is laying the groundwork for inclusive climate finance. Finally, I wanted to say that Sweden also supports direct access readiness through multilateral platforms and is open to co-developing pilot initiatives with Somalia to strengthen institutional capacity for accessing climate funds, such as our carbon expert desk in collaboration with We Agroforestry. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much. So thank you so much to all the panelists for their really insightful interventions. And I think what I've been hearing, and hopefully the audience too, is that we've heard a lot of clear signals around readiness support, sort of blended finance, the public-private sector, regional facilities, and inclusion, as we heard particularly from our last two speakers, are all converging around Somalia's NDC 3.0 investment plan. And the sort of real takeaway is collective ownership. Pablo started by talking about the importance of partnership and turning that $11.5 billion roadmap into finance projects that build resilience, create jobs, and deliver those peace dividends. And we sort of also heard as well about the tremendous pace that the plan has been developed at. And that really is fantastic. Again, that real focus on socio-economic development that brings jobs, that brings growth. But we've also heard as well, finally, about the changing risk appetites, which are just so important, that developing this understanding that countries like Somalia have finance and investment opportunities. So to me, this session really marks, hopefully, a shift from ambition to actionable partnerships. And to end as well on sort of the words of the Minister, His Excellency Minister Jama, the NDC 3.0 partnership really is a new era of leadership and ownership of Somalia's own climate finance. So thank you all so much for coming. Thank you very much to the panelists. And sorry we ran a bit over time.